It is great to be with you, and there are so many people here that stimulate a lot of memories. And Shirley Grant, down in the back of the room, right back down there, was one of the first people to support me when I ran for state representative in Whitman. And I remember knocking on doors and nobody knew who I was. Geoff has a great advantage. You know who he is. And my great friend Mike Sullivan, and you'll hear from him later on, Edie Imlich, people who have helped to make a big difference for the Republican Party in Plymouth County. But elections are never about yesterday. They're always about tomorrow. And Geoff represents more of tomorrow than anyone else who will run for the office. Because he is grounded in reality. He's been working very, very hard. And he understands that he can't win unless he works hard, but he also knows he can't win unless you work hard. The democracy that we have in the United States is a pretty phenomenal democracy. And it's grounded in our Constitution, and when you think about it, the Constitution is a spectacular document, but it's only an invitation. It's only an invitation, unless you accept the invitation and get elected. Then it's an obligation. But if you're just a voter, the Constitution says the government is yours, but it doesn't mandate that you participate in it. It doesn't mandate that you register to vote. It doesn't mandate that you vote. It's just an invitation. Geoff has accepted the invitation to run, and he wants to accept the obligation to serve. And he is anxious to take an oath that will obligate him to represent you. But Geoff cannot get there unless you accept the invitation to get involved. And getting involved isn't just saying, I support Geoff. Getting involved isn't just saying, I'll go to a VFW hall in Whitman. The invitation is really to help him get votes, to go forth and multiply. You alone cannot elect Geoff to be the representative for the 7th Plymouth District unless you're going to invite other people to join you. So I would like you to take the invitation that we call that Constitution and deliver it to other people with a personal invitation from you to make sure Geoff becomes the next state representative for the 7th Plymouth District. The pictures that flash on the wall over here show Geoff every once in a while. Actually, you see Geoff all the time. Every once in a while, you'll see Kathy, and then you'll see their children. And I want you to focus on that, because what Geoff is doing, he could not do alone. He has a wife who supports him and encourages him. He has children who depend on him, and he will not let them down. He also will not let you down, and that's a pretty significant commitment that he's willing to make. It's a sacrifice to run, and Geoff will do it. Today is a day that we used to celebrate. I'm so old that we actually used to celebrate today, George Washington's birthday. Now we celebrate President's Day in February, rather than Abraham Lincoln's birthday or George Washington's birthday. And I was phenomenally blessed to serve 3 presidents working at the White House. And I've got so many stories, and I'd love to share them with you. And I had an expectation when I went to Washington, D.C., that I really wouldn't get to know the president. I'd get to work for him, but I wouldn't get to know him. But I got to know Ronald Reagan. I got to know George Herbert Walker Bush. I got to know George W. Bush. But I also got to know something else, something that most of you don't pay attention to. I got to know Article 2 of the Constitution. I suspect if I were to ask you to describe the Constitution, you would all have a very similar description. And you'd say, we have the freedom to speak. Some of you might say, we have the freedom to assemble with people who agree with us. You'd probably say, I have the freedom to practice my faith any way I want. You also have a freedom that comes in the Constitution to petition government, to address your grievances. That's the First Amendment provision in the Constitution. But if that's your description of the Constitution, you're really describing an amendment to the Constitution, not the Constitution itself. The Constitution itself says the government is ours. In Article 1, those will be the people who serve in Congress, the House and the Senate. In Article 3, those are the people that you don't get to pick. And they wear robes. And they deal with yesterday. They don't deal with tomorrow. They deal with yesterday. They make sure that which is done is consistent with the Constitution. So they look back. I got to work for Article 2. Article 2 is the only provision of the Constitution that is personified in one person, the President of the United States. And it was an awesome, awesome invitation to help one person be President of the United States. And I got to help one person 3 times. Ronald Reagan, George H.W. Bush, and George W. Bush. I may be one of the few people in America who actually defends Article 2 of that Constitution. I know Article 1 doesn't want to defend it. In fact, they want to tear it down. And Article 3 really doesn't stand up to defend it. But the people who serve the president have to. And I tried very hard to do that. But Article 2 of the Constitution also gives the President of the United States an awesome responsibility. And it's usually not the responsibility that they think about when they seek the presidency. In fact, if you're running for president, you're really kind of running as a love magnet. You want everybody to love you, and you love them. And you know, you feel their pain, you share their concerns. You're a love magnet. Love me. I love you. And then you become president, and you find that the job isn't about love. The job is about courage, presidential courage. The courage to make the decision that is right, even if the political winds may not suggest that it's right. The courage to stand up for what you believe in because you care about the country. I got to watch presidents exhibit presidential courage. The job description of the president is pretty simple. It's not the one that you hear about during a campaign. It's not taxes. It's not domestic policy. It's not economic policy. It's not even foreign policy. The job description is to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution. That's the job description for the president. And there is no conditional clause to it. There's no if everybody agrees, if Congress gives you permission, or if the UN ratifies it, or if the French are on board. It doesn't say that. It says preserve, protect, and defend. And that's an awesome responsibility when you think about it.